The Daily Exchange, guys. We're talking everything about privacy coins today. zk-SNARKs, STARKs, Bulletproofs, and we've got Ben from Findora to tell us all about it. We'll see you guys right after this. All right, guys, welcome back. We've got Ben Fisch from Findora. Welcome, Ben, to the Daily Exchange.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, man. Now, you obviously are a man that's quite into privacy coins, zero-knowledge proofs, and we're going to talk a lot about that, and zk-SNARKs, bulletproofs, confidential transactions, and you co-invented with your co-founder a new thing called Supersonics. Now that's another whole other level. I love that. Now, this stuff powers coins like Zcash and Monero and things like that as well, which is really interesting. Do you want to give us a quick background? How did you get into privacy coins?
Oh, well, I work on cryptography. I'm a cryptographer. So one of the key areas of cryptocurrencies or blockchains that cryptography is applied to is ensuring privacy.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And are you a coder yourself as well?
I wouldn't really consider myself a coder. I mean, I can code. I used to be a software engineer before doing a PhD in cryptography, but really code now. I focus more on research and architecture design.
Okay. Now, we're going to get into talking about, firstly, the technology and zero-knowledge proofs and help us, obviously, to understand all these things. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about Findora and Supersonics later as well. Can you sort of start by giving us tell us what are zero-knowledge proofs?
Sure. So a zero-knowledge proof is it's a protocol for giving you a proof about a statement that does not reveal anything except for the statement's truth. And some of the inputs to the statement may be private and some of them may be public. I'll give you a quick example. If I want to prove that I know the contents of an encrypted message without revealing to you what the encrypted message is, then I can do that using a zero-knowledge proof. I prove that I know the contents, but I don't reveal to you what those contents are.
Okay. And why is it so hot right now? Why is there so much research going into these zero-knowledge proofs right now?
So I think the interest right now is really spurred by the use of zero-knowledge proofs to achieve privacy on a blockchain for public transactions. So the whole idea of making transactions private on a blockchain, you have to balance the need to verify that transactions are correct, right? Like in a cryptocurrency, you have to verify that a transaction is not creating new money in the process. It's taking some money out of one account and putting it into another. If that's encrypted, then you need to prove that it's still a valid transaction. So that requires a zero-knowledge proof. You show the transaction that's encrypted is not creating money in the process or violating the rules of the blockchain ledger.
Okay. So that creates the privacy transaction, but maintains the integrity of the blockchain.
Exactly.
And when we're talking about privacy transaction, when we're talking a transaction, we're talking about, I guess, what is a privacy transaction? What is a private transaction?
What is a private transaction, right? Well, there's a number of levels to privacy. So one is you could ask, well, whether the contents of the transaction is hidden, right? So if I'm sending you a certain amount of, in some kind of currency, whether it's Bitcoin or whether it's a dollar coin on a blockchain ledger, if I want to hide the amount that I'm sending you, that's one type of privacy. Another type of privacy is hiding identity. So who is sending money to who? If you're a public viewer looking at the blockchain, can you tell or the identity of the parties transacting, or can you even link two transactions to the same individual, even if you don't know that individual's identity? So both privacy, anonymity is a type of privacy as well. There's many levels to privacy.
Okay. So the technology now, let's talk about this. So to make these private transactions where people can't see what's inside,
Right.
is zk-SNARKs. Well, that's one of them. Can you tell us about, there's a lot of, so there's zk-SNARKs. I'm going to be careful here. There's STARKs, and then there are Bulletproofs, and there's your new one. Can we start with just talking about what are zk-SNARKs with an N?
Yeah, let's start with zk-SNARKs.
Yeah.
So think about zk-SNARKs as a really efficient type of zero-knowledge proof. The requirements of a zk-SNARK, and by the way, so zk-SNARK is basically describing the qualities of the zero-knowledge proof. It's not describing a specific, technology that implements that zero-knowledge proof. So anything could be considered a zero-knowledge SNARK if it has the property that the proof size is very small, okay, compared to the complexity of the statement that's being proved. So you can generate a proof for like a really complex statement about the integrity of a blockchain, and you can compress that all into a proof that is, say, under a kilobyte in size. Now, the properties of SNARKs is kind of expressed in an asymptotic way, but the practical significance is that we can get really small proofs for exceedingly complex statements. Another thing about the requirements for a SNARK is that it should be efficient to verify a proof. So even if you're, say, proving that the whole blockchain is correct for the last, however many 5 years, I can give you a proof that is both small and you can verify in, say, a matter of milliseconds or seconds, rather than spending a really long time to verify that proof. Okay, so the proof may take a long time to create, but a very short time to verify.
Okay.
So those are the qualities of a SNARK. Okay. And a STARK is actually just like a SNARK. The T is for transparent. So you may have heard that some SNARKs have required a trusted setup, like the ones that were used in Zcash. And so a STARK is just like a SNARK, but it removes the trusted setup. It doesn't require any trust in third parties to create those parameters.
Okay, so that they're transparent.
Yeah.
And what are SNARKs and STARKs used for? Right.
So, SNARKs and STARKs are used for efficient zero knowledge. They're used for other things as well. If you're using it in the context of zero knowledge, then just think of SNARKs and STARKs as ways of getting really efficient zero knowledge proofs. So some of the proofs required to make, to balance privacy and integrity in blockchain transactions, whether you're making transactions confidential or you're proving complex, statements. Maybe you want to give a proof to an auditor about confidential transactions on a blockchain. All of these would require efficient zero knowledge proofs, and that's what you can use SNARKs and STARKs for.
Okay.
You can also use them as a scalability solution to prove things that happened, say, off-chain or outside of the ledger. Or you can, for example, in the context of Ethereum, use SNARKs and STARKs to prove that you verified a complicated smart contract and prove that you actually ran the verification and got a particular result.
Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of talk right now in the market about Ethereum scaling with, I guess, SNARKs or STARKs, and it's sharding and things like that. And so this might be a way to prove those are valid. I just want to
go.
There is a last one. So your co-founder and yourself, your co-founder Benedict Bunz invented Bulletproofs.
That's right. Yeah.
And these are used in Monero as a coin. And can you tell us a bit about what is a bulletproof and how is it used?
Sure, yeah. So bulletproof is a specific construction of a zero knowledge proof, okay, that would not be considered a SNARK or a STARK only due to the fact that it doesn't have efficient verification, but it still has really small proof size. Mm-hmm. So you can think of, in the context of zero knowledge proofs, bulletproofs are great for, producing really small proofs for statements of medium complexity. So they would take too long to verify if you're trying to prove something really complex, like a statement over the whole history of the blockchain. But they're great for what they're used for in Monero, which is range proofs for confidential transactions, just hiding the amounts in a transaction.
Okay, so, and now these three technologies, zk-SNARKs, zk-STARKs, and bulletproofs, are they truly private?
So they're private by a certain definition of what they achieve, right? So think of zk-SNARKs or zk-STARKs. And by the way, bulletproofs, unlike SNARKs and STARKs, is a particular construction of a proof. It doesn't describe a broad class of proofs. SNARKs and STARKs describe what are the characteristics of the proof, and there's many different constructions of SNARKs and STARKs, whereas bulletproofs are really just one specific construction that doesn't achieve the efficiency property of verification, but achieves small proof size. Now, like all of these things are private by definition of what they do. They give you the ability to prove a statement without revealing anything besides the statement's truth. But they, then you might ask whether they're secure or not. And that is all dependent on the cryptographic assumptions that underlie their security.
Okay. So there's obviously a lot of talk in the market as well about, potentially, Ethereum making some privacy, becoming more private. But there's another trend right now as well of, privacy coins being delisted from some exchanges. Where do you see the future of these technology and these privacy coins going?
Well, I think that people will come to realize that privacy is just a basic requirement for people to be able to really use blockchains for financial transactions. And I think that the questions around privacy and whether it's compatible with regulations will all come down to being able to balance the regulatory requirements with the privacy requirements, and zero knowledge proofs are really, really useful for being able to do that. So you can prove that transactions which are otherwise private are compliant with regulations. It doesn't need to be an all or nothing affair where transactions are either completely private and there's no way to verify that they're compliant with regulations, or they're just completely public, right? You don't have to have a black and white. Zero knowledge is exactly what you need in order to create a balance.
Okay. So we had Jingshan Yu, who's a security researcher from Monash University, on the show. And he suggested that he can actually make Monero transactions public.
Okay.
Do you think that's possible?
I don't know exactly what he means by that. So Monero transactions use bulletproofs to hide the amounts that are being transacted in a transaction, and it also uses ring signatures to achieve a certain amount of anonymity among who is exactly sending a transaction. And unless you break the cryptographic assumptions underlying the ring signatures and the bulletproofs, then you can't break the privacy or the anonymity that Monero has. So I'm not sure exactly what he means by making it public, but
okay. Do you think that some zero knowledge proofs have weaknesses still?
That's a difficult question. I mean, I would say that some of the assumptions that zero knowledge proofs are based on need further study. But there isn't any reason to believe that, something like Bulletproofs, for example, is based on the security of discrete logarithms, and that's if you broke that assumption, we had much bigger problems in the world, right? But so that's like a long studied, cryptographic problem that we believe is hard to break. But some of the other ones have, their security is based on slightly less studied problems, but I don't think there's any reason to really believe that any of them are broken until quantum computers come along.
So let's talk about now your new breakthrough, which are supersonics.
Right.
Tell us, what is a supersonic and what are you solving for?
So supersonic is a new type of zero knowledge proof that it's a transparent SNARK. So you could actually call it a STARK, but or you could call it a zk-SNARK without trusted setup, and it's really the first practical SNARK without trusted setup. It has proof sizes for really complex statements that would fit in 10 kilobytes and could be verified in milliseconds, and it does all the things that that a SNARK needs, that a SNARK does, but it just doesn't have trusted setup. So beforehand, we had trustless setup SNARKs that had proof sizes in the hundreds of kilobytes, and so this is an order of magnitude improvement on what we had before.
So Barry, what would you say then is, like, just being specific? What's the difference between a supersonic, say, and a zk-SNARK or a bulletproof? Like, what's the, from a practical perspective, what do people who are using that, what are they going to get?
So I mean, supersonics gives you the possibility of building, say, Zcash without trusted setup, right? And it gives you the possibility of having anonymous, fully private transactions on a blockchain with no trusted setup. And currently, Zcash uses a trusted setup. Now, it goes, the practical significance goes quite a lot further than that. There's more to privacy than just making transactions private and confidential. You also want to be able to show that you're compliant with regulations or different kinds of audits, using zero knowledge proofs. So like one of the things that Findora is focused on is, can we get, say, an investment fund to operate over a blockchain ledger and prove that it's not committing fraud, but still be able to transact privately? So that requires more complex zero knowledge proofs, and supersonics would give you the ability to produce small and efficiently verifiable, really practical proofs for exceedingly complex statements.
Makes sense. So just in your press release, I'll now quote, you've got, and this is from your recent release, the first practical trustless zk-SNARK supersonic proofs are 25 times smaller and more efficient to verify than any other trustless zero knowledge proof system. So these are much smaller, but why is the size of a transaction so important?
Well, you're putting all the transactions on a blockchain, so there could be a number of reasons why you need to keep them small, right? So one, just in terms of bandwidth limitations, scalability of blockchains. If you have, if you're processing thousands of transactions a second on a blockchain, then you can't have a really large proof attached to every transaction.
And is this a problem right now with other privacy coins?
So I think that you have to think of it more as in like private practicality thresholds. So if one of the reasons why there does not exist today a version of Zcash which is the only system that has fully anonymous transactions right now, right? Without trusted setup, is because we simply didn't have a practical trustless setup SNARK before.
Okay.
And so there are STARKs which are being used for different applications. They're being used a bit for decentralized exchange applications, and it's like STARKs. The STARK constructions by Elie Ben Sasson and others, and that's being developed by Starkware are already practical for restricted types of applications. But what we were interested in doing with Supersonic is coming up with something which was really general purpose, efficient for any type of for any type of statement that you would be trying to prove. And so Supersonic can be used to actually build a trustless Zcash, whereas it would be impractical to do so with what we had before.
Okay. What kind of use cases do you see sort of the Supersonics enabling?
So one, building a fully anonymous, fully private transactional system over a blockchain. So blockchain for multi-asset transfers that is fully anonymous and private, but also the ability to do complex balancing of regulatory requirements or audits and confidentiality. So for example, being able to prove that you've paid your taxes correctly, even though you're transacting over a fully private blockchain. Or like the example I gave before, if you're running some kind of financial service like a lending platform or an exchange or a hedge fund, you can prove that you're not, say, committing certain types of fraud while still being able to transact privately.
Makes sense. And in terms of Findora, tell us about that. What is Findora, and you guys obviously, what are you trying to do with Supersonics?
Yeah, so all those applications I just mentioned are exactly what Findora is building. So Findora is building a multi-asset platform, based on blockchain technology that can be used for issuing any type of asset and transacting, creating smart contracts. But the focus of Findora is really both privacy and compliance, right? The ability to have both public auditing as well as privacy on a blockchain platform. And public auditability is really one of the main hallmark features of a blockchain. So we wouldn't want to get rid of that by introducing privacy. So that's really our target focus.
Okay. And where's sort of, what are the next things you guys are, what's on the roadmap for Findora right now?
So we're focusing first on sort of we're finishing the development of the basic platform, and we are also looking at targeting some specific applications first, like peer-to-peer lending. Peer-to-peer lending is I would say one of the lower hanging fruits in terms of use cases, because it doesn't rely on an ecosystem where there already exists many different assets in the system already. So like in order to get a hedge fund to operate over a multi-asset blockchain platform, you need to have companies already issuing their assets in the system. So peer-to-peer lending is something you can start with right away. It's just a system where people can issue their debt securities and loans and create some simple loan contracts all over a blockchain platform that offers them full privacy, but they can then also prove statements about the transactions and loans that they have, and they can prove that they're compliant with different regulations. And so that's that's one of the first proof of concept, minimum viable products that we're going to deploy using Findora. And so we have we're working with sort of partner financial institutions in this regard as well. But in the long run, we really want to see an ecosystem of all types of financial applications. Our statement is that we're building the internet of finance, and we'd like we see finance moving in a direction where there isn't where the infrastructure is just completely different from what you see today. It's all based on common public infrastructure that is publicly auditable, publicly verifiable, but yet still confidential.
Brilliant. I love the vision and I love the mission.
Cool.
Ben, we've got one last question for you. We ask everyone on the show, what is the price you think Bitcoin will be on the 12 p.m., like when the clock strikes 12 for the new year, in US dollars, or however you want, people answer in all sorts of ways. But what do you think the price? I think it's about 9,400 today.
Okay, I think it will be $10,000.
$10,000, there it is. Awesome. And lastly, Ben, is there, that's sort of all of our questions. Are there any other things that you really passionate about or looking at?
Are there any other things that I'm passionate or looking about? Looking at? Are you saying generally speaking in this space besides zero knowledge,
trends
or
that
about
you're seeing,
Findora?
Trends that you're seeing
I'm
right now.
seeing. Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's. I would say I'm pretty focused on Findora and as well as the blockchain space in general. But I think it's really exciting how, especially with all the announcements coming out about different countries and embracing blockchain technology. I'm really excited to see how this is going to penetrate infrastructure as we know it today. Is that sort of answering your question? Or
yeah, obviously you're very passionate about privacy coins. I just wonder, do you have any predictions as well?
So I mean, one distinction I would make is I'm passionate about how blockchains, and whether they're confidential or non-confidential, have applications beyond just coins, right? So I mean, that's one of the focuses of Findora as well, is how having a publicly auditable ledger is just such a powerful technology. And it goes way beyond just making coins, right? That new alternative currencies. So this is more about being able to have any kind of financial transaction in a form that can be, provable and verified, and that's just something that you don't really have in financial infrastructure today. I mean, you have a lot of fraud in finance. But the power of this technology is to prevent things like, Madoff from happening again. It's to prevent things from like the collapse of peer-to-peer lending in China from happening again. There's so many problems in finance that go beyond weak currencies, that my passion is really in seeing how this stuff can penetrate finance, not just specifically coins. Right?
Brilliant. All right, Ben, thank you so much for joining us on the Daily Exchange. I really appreciate it.
Sure, thank you.
All right, guys, that is the Daily Exchange. That's privacy protocols for you. Ben giving you some zk-SNARKs, STARKs, and Bulletproofs. Do subscribe, guys. Do follow us. Press that button, and we'll see you guys later. Yeah!